In Justice Mosley's ruling, the long ruling, and some lawyers that I've spoken to since then say this is like it's appeal proof. There's no way they're going to be able to appeal this because it's just so set in stone the way he phrased everything. But he mentions in his ruling that initially, when these proceedings started, he was, he's a human being. I get that he's a judge, but he's also a human being. He was leaning towards the government side of things. But then that changed at some point over the course of the trial. And you said you noticed that.
I did. At first, he seemed to lean, like you said, more to the government side. But when he was sort of, I guess, pushing for better responses, he gave even-handed sort of lectures to both sides. But what I noticed when one of the lawyers on the team, Blair Ector, they were talking about the freezing of bank accounts, and he kind of made the face, well, it was only for a week, or 5 days or whatever it was. He goes, that's not really a big deal. So Blair, very tactfully, and he said, that is not a long time, Your Honor, but remember, it was minus 25. These people came from across the country. They had no means to buy food, no means to buy gas for transportation home, and they had no means to find shelter. And that moment, I saw his face change. And you could, I even think I remember him saying, I didn't really look at it that way. And that's when I noticed the first change in direction. And the next thing I noticed is somewhere along after the point of that, he actually admitted he was a trucker in the early part of his life.
So you had him. You had him at that point. You went, oh, right, he was a trucker too.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, the decision should have come out within 6 months. Well, it didn't. And, here we waited a couple of months more. But what he did do, and I don't know what to make of it. It's just an observation, is that he could have delayed it where we had no chance for appeal or to do anything else. And he released his decision 30 days before the window, should you try to sue or anything else. He actually, put that 30-day period where people could do things. And, I found that very interesting. But the day that he released the decision was to the day, the anniversary of the trucker convoy.
Yeah. So we get the ruling. What was your reaction when you first heard about that? And how did you hear about that?
Well, I'm right here in my garage right now. I was doing some work on my tractor right behind us where I'm looking, and my phone goes off. I think I banged my head on the tractor, jumping up and down. I was shocked. I was jumping up and down all by myself, and I was running outside like a maniac. And we won, and I was getting on the phone, and I was just doing whatever I could to contain my excitement. And it was unbelievable. My phone blew up, and it hasn't stopped.